Okay, everybody must know this. Books, history, and the time frame. A lot of you, or people, are going to begin asking, in respect to the time frame, where history comes from. They're going to be start asking about history, and the question about fossils comes up, about whether fossils are real or not, and there's answers to that, and it's obvious when you hear the answers. You're not going to denounce them. Like, it might take a while for you to believe them, but those who are intelligent, they'll realise straight away that it's true. So I'll do fossils first anyway. Fossils are actually rocks. They're not bones. They've got no DNA for any fossils. They've never had. Fossils are structured of silicon dioxide or silica and calcium carbonate, which is rock. Silica is a sandstone rock. Calcium and magnesium, they're of dolomite rocks. So this is what these fossils has been manufactured from. Now, there's a notion, somebody was saying that because they're in the shape of animals, well, they must have once been animals. So somebody put this theory that, okay, well, they must be, millions of years old, and that they put this fossilization theory to it, basically. So somebody in university has inducted or recreated this nonsense theory that they must have once been bones because they're shaped in the form of like an animal that looks similar to an animal, but they're not. That's the thing, they're not animals. Alright, so, and if the people knew that there was a time frame about the Great Precession in regards to the shifting on its axis, the 26,000 shifts around thereabouts, they would know there's a time frame. So they're not working with a time frame, you see. They're going off the notion that there was a big explosion or a big bang, and then the Earth is millions and billions of years old, and then it's gonna be destroyed by the sun blowing up, and that's their theory. They don't know that. Somehow they've conjured up this theory, and you got other people. I forgot their Genesis theories, and they're going, it's all this person named God that created Adam and Eve, and then it's gonna destroy it with the Judgment Day. So you got these two nonsense groups out there, and all they're about is basically talking lies, is recreating nonsense, speechless words coming out of their mouth that amount to no meaning, meaningless, speechless, thus meaningless, careless. This is what's coming out of their mouths, all right? So they've denounced, and they continue to denounce the time frame. It's not taught in schools because of these two groups of people. So over the years, it's been phased out of schools to the stage where the whole entire universe has been lied about, namely through astrology. Astrology omits the 13th constellation of the ecliptic plane, so they left 12 to try to round it up, and tried to round them off to 30 degrees for each constellation that falls along the ecliptic where the sun appears to travel. So they've omitted the 13th one to try to round them off to 30 degrees each, to try to be simplistic. And not only that, they've frozen them in time. At least the tropical ones frozen them in time to 2,000 years ago. And the problem with that is that they shift, the constellations shift over a period of years. So I was meant to be, for example, born in Aquarius, in the constellation Aquarius, but that was back then. Now it's moved, it's shifted. It's now in a Capricorn, so I was born in a Capricorn. All right. If you go to the sidereal zodiac will tells about that. The sidereal does account for the shifts, but the sidereal still does not account the 13th constellation. It still omits that, and which is wrong, which is very wrong. But everything else about that's pretty spot on. Like, I must say, it's pretty, like, it accounts for all that, but nobody acknowledges it. There's very few people in the world that really know about it. In the mainstream and the majority of the major people, they're all going on about either the Earth's billions of years old, or this person named God that's created it, or another one of their so-called religious or holy books. So it's very wrong what's going on. So okay, so now to the books. The books, history, and the time frame. Okay, now the knowledge of there being a time frame means there must be some books or a book that is here without being put together by somebody, that is there for you and me, for everybody, as a guide to life with all the answers in it. So, the question is, what's that book? And maybe somebody might be saying, seems a bit impossible to believe that there's such a book around, because if there was, somebody surely would have found it by now. Well, maybe they have, but they don't know about that it's that book. All right, I'm going to tell you what that book is. You're probably already guessing. I've put a few posts on it recently. Okay, so it's the Quran. Okay, and it's not a book. We'll say, for example, it is the Quran, right? Merely because of all the things in how it mentions the earth in respect to the ratio of the same ratios of earth and water. So it mentions the 3-to-1 ratio. It mentions, what else does it mention? It mentions day like 365 times a month, 12 times. It has ayin as the middle chapter, and the word ayin, the middle word of the chapter. So you can see there's something divine about that hasn't been put together by a person that's always sort of been there. It's not as if somebody's gone out and put this book together. It's as if that's been there. But here's the thing, okay? With the time frame, you have the good era, and then you have the bad era, okay? Now, the thing is that, say the bad era comes along, and that book's there, all right, from the good era. Somebody comes along and they put a history story on it, and they say it must have come from somebody, or they say because they don't have a story of where it came from, they begin, trying to reattribute stories to it and saying that it came from this person or that person. Hence, you get a whole story of this person named Muhammad and a group of followers, and you get this whole story to it. All right. Now, a lot of people say, in respect to the Quran, that nah, it's a book. They'll argue that it does come, from history, and the earth. They don't want to believe in the time frame. They might not want to believe in it. But in such regard, I'll say that there's something wrong with the Quran now, and it's proof that this history story is most likely it's a fabricated, it's a fallacy, it's wrong. Okay, now what's wrong with the Quran for the history story to be wrong? Okay, well, you got your names. You got your names in the Quran. They're not Arabic names, and you might be asking, what's the importance of them having to be Arabic names? Well, it's because the book's about recitation. It's a tool for recitation. It's to train your body, namely to breathe. It doesn't have icons in it at the moment. Maybe they were omitted in the bad era. Somebody deleted them, and because what happens in the bad era, certain things there, that people begin to misunderstand things and mistranslate things. So if the Quran and maybe there's a couple of other books around that have been mistranslated in that bad era, then in the good era, they're going to have to need to be fixed. So, or in the transition to the good era, then books are gonna need to be translated, and that's where I come in. That's why I've been, talking about translating words. And if you see my post, you see I've been translating things. I've been proving that a lot of words are being mistranslated nowadays. Now, one came up before, and I'm like, incredible. People say things, oh, the person's incredible. It doesn't say much if they're incredible, does it? Or what they're meant to say, that person's a credible person. You want to be credible, you don't want to be incredible. You want to be correct, you don't want to be incorrect, isn't it? So there's another one, So there's a lot of words. Judgment is one of the main ones. A lot of people say, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. And I say, don't misjudge. You misjudge, you crash the car, So, and there's many others. So, but yeah, so imagine a whole entire book. With the whole entire book, you got stories, whole stories that have been mistranslated, that have been misconstrued, to a whole nother thing where it's not meant to be. And that's where you get people going on about that there's this person that's name is God, and that's what the word God, that's the main word that's been mistranslated out of all the words. That's the biggest one. Some people say, there had to have been this person that created everything, because they asked where it came from. Well, it wasn't here before they only saw it when they opened their eyes and they could see. So who are they to say about what someone else saw? You know what I mean? And not only that, the answer's there all along. If anybody wants to search for it, search how the universe works. All they've got to search is to look up, begin studying the universe and the stars, and and the orbit. It resembles the clock. Everything it resembles the clock. It's exactly a resemblance of the clock. There's a time frame to it. If you see that, and if you can have a bit of common sense, you can say, okay, well, if things are bad for so long, all these bad things going on, surely there has to be a period where it goes away. Well, wouldn't it be fair? Well, why not? I think that's worth living for. I'm going to live for that, and that's what I've decided to do. Years ago, back in 2012, when I realised that was my epiphany, my realisation that, hey, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm living for, and every day I'm going to be striving to it and work. I've worked out, come to the stage now where I've worked out basically everything that's required to make it to the good era. So, to get rid of all this bad and where it came from, and all that sort of thing. So yeah, books, the time frame in history. Just think about it, yeah, that in there being a time frame, that means that there has to be things around that are purely always there, but mistaken at one stage, and then to be taken or understood at another stage of the good era. So, the bad era comes along, it's misunderstood, people begin mistaking things, they distort it, they get a couple of words and they put, now what it's done has been transliterated words. A name, the sound will be translated, or the sound of the name. It's called a transliteration. The phonetical sound is being tried to be put in the letters of the other alphabet from the other alphabet, and what you get is a sound. You don't get a word of a meaning. You get a sound. If I was to translate the title of this video, I would say books, for example, books. You go to translate into Arabic, you get the B, because there's a ba, the letter ba. They'll go bo, or because there's o also in Arabic. They'll go bo. They'll look for the ka that's similar to the K, book, and they'll go the S. They'll go probably books, and they'll go books. But the word for books in Arabic or book is kitab. It's kitab. It's not books. So, but what's happened is in history, in the bad era, it's happened a lot with names. they put the sound, they don't put the meaning, and they don't translate the meaning. So what you got is a whole bunch of meaningless sounds, and that's what's happened. What's wrong about the Quran today? All the names, all the names in there, they have been phonetically transliterated from the other alphabets. So, and not only the names, you got the names of people, of the prophets, namely, you got your names of the names of the books of the old scriptures, which it mentions, of other books that are meant to be like holy books. Whether it's mentioning the books, whether it meant books in that respect specifically, or whether it meant just, speaking in general about a way that people were meant to follow that they mistook. Because it does mention that people ended up mistaking the way, they begin mistranslating things. And what else? There's a few other terms. Ramadan supposedly comes from Sanskrit. There's a Hindu god named Rama, and when the season Ramadan comes, that's the same season the Hindus celebrate their god Rama, and that god Rama has the same qualities of people that are meant to be following the Ramadan of charity and abstaining from, abstaining from having relations with your spouse and all that, and being charitable and giving. It's the same, like the same morals. They don't fast in Hindu, but it's the same, like, yeah, and that's what the name means. So supposedly the Ramadan, it's not even Arabic, it's a Sanskrit term, because kids, with this whole notion of history, the Hinduism comes before the Islam. So yeah, so you got some Hindu words that have made it in there as well from that like alphabet. So you got some Hebrew ones, because the Hebrew is meant to have come before the Quran too. So you got the Hebrew ones, which are the names of the prophets, and then you got all these other ones that are sort of scattered all over the place, from Sanskrit to Akkadian or whatever that is, and there's a Greek, and there's a couple more, but there's not that many. But still, it's enough to render the book. It's enough for people to have mistranslated it to the point where they've mistranslated the word God as a name, and they've got these fucking scholars to put this whole entire thesis on fucking the word and where it came from to try to solidify it. That furthermore their mistranslation, which is very frustrating. I've had to go through these conversations with AI and tell it, no, that's not how it is, and it's telling me, oh, blah blah blah, this scholar, blah blah blah, and I don't give a fuck what scholar fucking says. I'm saying it doesn't fucking make sense. It clearly doesn't make sense. It's a fucking someone's fucking conjured it up as another word, and it's fucking wrong. And that's where you get all these extremists out there. You got all these extremists saying, this and that, screaming, la 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 la. That's not that. That's not what it means. They've got the picture of this invisible person in their head that they say is the greatest in the world, but they can't see it. So what's that? That's insanity. And they're going rah 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 crazy and being barbaric and all this nonsense. So they haven't got a picture in their head, And it's even more bad because what are they? They're, like a teacher's pet. The little teacher's pets in the classroom. They go suck up to the teacher. They're that way. And they're that way, and others, in respect to this invisible picture they have of this person that they say they're trying their best to please and beg for things, and they're being their best on their best behaviour for, but it's not, because what they're envisioning is a lie. It's wrong. So everything they're going to be about is going to be wrong. It's going to be fucking bad. You get your ones that try to be, the ones that try to be good are sort of the, I don't know, it's really pissing me off, to be honest. You got fucking these people out there, you can say they're trying to be good. They're more focused on being a good person. They're not focused on all that other bullshit And you can tell sort of the people that are that way, you know. The only people that I've come across that are that way, from I won't say, but they're not in the area of the Quran and all that, you know. And they're the only people I've really come across that just want to be better. Just, you know, they're just regular, everyday people that are. Humanity's the main thing, you know, being a better person. That's what I, you know, got from them. They're just nice people, you know. It's not about all going to the fucking, you know, this worshipping this person and being all, you know, all fucking stupid and that. So that's sort of, you know, just, it's not really, it's as if they know it's bullshit, but they have to go anyway, sort of thing. And it's, you know, no, well, what a fucking, you know, hope for the best one for them one day, and something good comes along from, you know. So yeah, so anyway, so yeah, so you got books, the history and the time frame, things that are always here, and it might have to do with other things, you know. You see this old ancient temples, maybe they were always around, you know. Maybe nobody actually carved them into those fucking rocks, maybe they're already there, you know what I mean? Or maybe, you know, I've thought about this, because there's a time frame, things are going to have to be put back. And how are you going to get it back? The only way you're going to get a rock back to its shape again is you have to melt the rock and make lava, and you have to fucking pour it over it. And then, you know, and how the fuck are people going to do that? You know, some of the shit that's fucking going to have to be, it seems a bit fucking, it makes you question, is there really a fucking time frame? But you think about it, yeah, there has to be. Everything has a time frame. Like the circular time frame, it comes around, and good and bad. You know, there's AM and there's PM. You know, you got your fucking constellations, you got your stars, you got your fucking hours on the clock, you got, you know, your hands that are ticking, you got your sun and the moon, and everything's going around in orbit, and everything's ticking, and everything's part of a fucking clock, you know. So you think, how the fuck's this gonna happen? How's it gonna happen? And you just, first things first is, there's things that need to be done right now, and those answers for those other questions are going to come later. But what must happen now, like for certain, is there's things that have to be done right now. You know, such as everybody has to get electricity from gas, not from coal, because gas is clean. All it's required is to be piped to the house, and you get your electricity. Or you can either have a house generator, a quiet house generator in a quiet enclosure, and you turn it on whenever you need to do your washing, and you have a little battery that it can charge while you're doing your washing, and then that can be for your light bulbs and a couple of other little things. And that's really about it. You know, you don't really need that much. Rather than having a whole big plant, you can have, you know, if someone, probably good, you know, to begin that way for now, for the transition, for people that don't know, it's better than fucking having a coal mine, and then you got over 1 billion tons of ash, and people say, no, people make cement out of it. Well, why the fuck would you want to do that? And when are you going to stop making cement out of it? You can't continue to make cement forever. Don't you want things to last? You know? And you got all the fucking, you know, each house is 9 tons a month. Imagine 9 tons of coal per house per month for that plant to burn, to keep the electricity fucking transmission cables connected to your house always running on demand whenever you need it. It's around like 20 or 30 kilowatts. That's 30,000 watts around per house that's there, constantly being generated for every single house. Imagine. So 9 tons of coal for those connected to coal still. And, you know, you got your gas. The gas is better because it doesn't leave any ash wastage, but it's a fucking waste of gas, isn't it? It's supposedly it's a little bit more gas, but it's around the same amount. But why would you fucking do that for? You're not even using it. You better just have a generator at home, and then when you want to use it, You switch it on, and then you do your heavy duty things, and then that's it. And fucking sweet, easy, and everything's done. But fucking, everybody's fucking going crazy. You can realise that's when I start mentioning these things. You can realise there is an answer, isn't it? You can begin to see there is fucking an answer to something. It's not, as if how people go, oh, it'll never be good. Good things are never going to happen. What sort of an attitude is that? How? Why? They never say why. They never say how. But you get these people going, it's never going to happen. And you get these other people saying, there is a problem, but they've got the wrong picture of what the problem is, and they're putting up all these, what they say is renewables. They're putting turbines up all over the countryside, and it's a big scam because what they're doing is they're circulating their dollars, their government dollars. It's circulating in a subsidy scheme. They give it basically back to themselves, like it's the person who puts it in gets like a million something dollars and some ridiculous amount per turbine, and doesn't even pay their insurance on it, and it's not even liable if it fucking if something happens to it, some destruction or some it gets destroyed somehow in an accident. The person has to fix it whose farm it's on, who only gets hardly anything, and it's connected to the plant that has to stay on anyway. It has to stay on anyway. So you got all this extra electricity running through the fucking cables. They say, they balance it out. So that means they'll turn the gas down when they can see that the turbines are producing at high. But how they can't stop it from overproducing. They've got to just fucking let it burn off in the transmission cable. So it's an overload. They don't know how much it could produce at any second. They're putting these solar panels all over the whole entire Earth. And meanwhile, the sun is meant for the fucking. It's meant for the Earth, it's meant for the rain so the water can evaporate. And you got all these solar panels on the all over the fields and that. So there's an overload of electricity. So fucking when you can just have a generator at home to use and a little battery, and that's it. You can even have your cars and fill your car up and converting it to a natural gas at home. You can just fill it up at home whenever you want. Yeah, so there's all this effort put in all around the whole entire Earth for things that aren't really needed. Excuse me, today I'm wrecked. I've been up all night. What I'm committed to, my commitments, I look after animals, so I'm preparing. It's a ton every 10 days. It was 2 tons every 10 days. Now I'm 1 ton every 10 days. It's still a lot, and that's what I put out. How much I put out per month. So it's around 3 tons per month I'm putting out, and I do it at nocturnal, and I got the birds, and I'm constantly out and up and walk. I've never driven a car, so there's no transport, and I'm always walking around. So yeah. Think about that. The time frame books, and the history. Do you think on some era or another, somebody's put these fucking history stories to things, and it's ended up with this whole entire re-evaluated misconception about how things are, and things have become meaningless, and there's no way that people can live without having to fight it or correct it in realising what the truth is, listening to what I say, and being a better person. Things will be attracted to that, and the change has to come for the better. The change has to be there, and things have to become changed, as the seasons change, It goes around. It has to be a properly changed, not an unchanged, unnatural. It has to be a changed, natural cycle. The things have to be on the good way. So, so studying words in the opposites will help you with this. It helps very well in this. yeah, think about it. Books translated, translating the books in the good era. Them holy books there. Other books that are there, people might have just fucking created off the top of their head. Say like maybe like fucking songs. No, I used to listen to a lot of rap songs when I was growing up. So, you know, obviously that's been, somebody's put that together. My mates used to freestyle and shit. They haven't like opened up a book and then fucking put it in their own words. It comes straight from their fucking. And me, for example, graffiti. I like to graffiti. I'm that side of like hip hop sort of thing area. So, I haven't sort of like, gone and looked at there's all the pieces there, but I'm sure before there was that graffiti, there wasn't really any, really graffiti sort of around, but there wasn't sort of a book with my tag in it, with my name in it, with a whole bunch of fucking pieces that I have to fucking do or copy. No, I just have to fucking make up as I go along. So yeah, there are those books out there that people just, they think of a story, well, they pitch and they write it, but there are those holy books. Well, maybe there's only one, maybe it's only the Quran, maybe the rest are all bullshit. That's why I say, maybe the Bible is actually a rip-off of the Quran. It's not the other way around. It's people saying the Quran's fucking copied stories out of the Bible. I say, nah, the Quran shits all over the fucking Bible. It's got more stories in it the Bible doesn't fucking have, and it's compact, and it's more fucking, it has more impact, and it's not this long fucking boring fucking book where you're going, oh, this person came from this person, and this person had this brother, and their names were this and this. It's not a fucking ridiculous fucking long fucking grueling fucking book to go through. It's a fucking short, compact, meaningful fucking impacting fucking tool to benefit you and to turn you into a fucking better person and have wisdom and realizing things and the cause and effect and and gives you a clue on how to be a better fucking person. So, and to get rid of this evil, to fight this evil, like in here, like properly, not as these fucking imbeciles that I was talking about before, going around going la 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 la, fucking this and that, and they got no picture. They got this picture of this invisible person that they're being a little teacher's fucking pet to, sucking up fucking, being a fucking little suckhole. How fucking else am I gonna say it? It's fucking ridiculous. Wait till I fucking put a few more videos out on it. I'm gonna fucking blast them. Mate, serious. Anyway, fucking yeah, so again, stories, books, and the history, the time frame, and how things are going to be. Really have a good think about it, have a meditate on it, and you see how things are meant to be. There's a good era and there's a bad era. In the good era, the wounds, they heal and they become a scar, and there's that scar left over as a memory for you to know that there is bad there and that good can't go forever and ever. Similarly, in the bad era, that scar, it opens up to a wound, right? And the people, well, you can see in the bad era, you can see that wound was once a healed scar, all right? So that means that wound, it can't bleed and bleed forever. One day it has to heal. Okay? So in that respect, it makes very meaningful what a wound is. I'll go back to circumcision when I give that example. The only thing that comes up is circumcision. It must be a natural thing then, So it has to heal, and when it heals, fucking everything's good. So now there has to be there's a transition towards the good. The wound has to heal. The earth has to be better. To the examples I'm given, and the realization of there being this time frame as well. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.